Elon Musk shares an altered video of Kamala Harris breaking his own company's rules.
It doesn't ban that.
It does. I mean, the caveat being like, if they decide that it won't lead to harm, then they can say, oh, it's not against our rules.
Do we know if this thing made it off? I mean, do we know if it made it off of Twitter in any significant way?
Representative Barbara Lee states that Elon sharing a deep fake video of Kamala Harris shows the need for AI guardrails.
There's things that the platforms will generally take down that aren't illegal. Even Twitter affirmation, your remedy is through the courts and your remedy is civil after the fact. And that doesn't help too terribly much in an election.
Hello, how the tech are you? My name is HK Parent, and this week I've got some stories about Elon Musk and what he shared on X. Elon Musk shares an altered video of Kamala Harris breaking his own company's rules. The video uses a deepfake version of Kamala Harris's voice to have her say disparaging remarks about herself and President Biden. The Twitter user who originally posted the video labeled it as parody. However, Elon Musk removed this label when he reposted the video. Twitter's own policy bans, quote, synthetic, manipulated, or out-of-context media that may deceive or confuse people and lead to harm. What do you think?
It doesn't ban that.
It does. I mean, the caveat being like, if they decide that it won't lead to harm, then they can say, oh, it's not against our rules. But like this clearly will, like, it's election interference. It's like using a deep fake of one of the candidates for president, like spreading misinformation about that. That's pretty clearly harmful to the public good.
So I think on something like this, though, I think that it's more likely to reinforce the ideas of people who are inclined to believe something like it in the first place, and then to change the minds of you or me, or even like a normie liberal. I don't like, you know what I'm saying? I think we'll not use you or me, for example, because especially me, I'm like just very, very cynical and don't trust anything or anyone. But like even like a normie moderate or whatever is probably going to see that, something like that, where it says disparaging things about herself, and think that either A, this has been taken grossly out of context and she was being like self-deprecating in some way and it's been edited together, or B, that I think the value of this is that people who are inclined to believe it are now going to be more, I don't like the word crazy to describe people, but I'm going to use it anyway, more crazy.
I think you're right for most of the population, but there's got to be some sliver of the population that would see this and would believe it, and it very well might sway them.
Maybe it also, it's, what is it? Just coming into August now. So I think the importance of this stuff starts to rise like at the end of October and the beginning of November. Starts to become really important because there's plenty of time for the debunk and for like articles like the one that you're posting here to get around.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It's I'm not surprised. It's just like when we start talking about campaign finance, is that like, does this count as like an in-kind donation to like the Trump campaign and stuff? It starts to get real weird because it's almost like it's an ad for the other side.
Yeah, I would say, I would completely agree. It is an ad for the other side, and it's an ad featuring AI manipulated video.
Yeah, I am not, like I said, this one probably doesn't matter that much because it's not very close, but boy, howdy, people on the dystopia beat and people who are familiar with AI and just what they used to call deep fakes, or what somebody once incredibly funnily called a fake deep that we made fun of for weeks. We're going to have to be on our toes. But the other thing is, do we know if this thing made it off? I mean, do we know if it made it off of Twitter in any significant way? I'm not asking, did it get posted on Facebook once? Like, because most people don't use Twitter.
Yeah. I don't know. It may have, but I don't know.
People always forget, like, especially like people who are like me, very extremely online. We kind of sometimes forget that Twitter gets less than 1 billion monthly active users worldwide.
I think it has less than like 150 million now, right?
Right. And that's like less than Facebook's daily active users.
Yep.
So people kind of forget
Facebook is not much better.
But people do kind of forget that when something goes viral on Twitter, it's going to have a lot less impact than if something goes viral on Facebook.
Yeah. But people seek out news on Twitter a lot. So, the fact that like the founder, not founder, but like the owner of Twitter is now sharing fake news. It just really like whatever sort of like credibility Twitter had is, in my opinion, now completely gone. Like, you don't go on Twitter to see information. You go on Twitter to see like entertainment.
I mean, I use Twitter to gather information, but I'm gathering a specific kind. I'm gathering like it's almost like an abstraction away from the actual information. What I'm gathering on Twitter, right? Like
an aggregation.
Well, no, I'm gathering information about how particular people are processing what they believe to be information.
Okay.
Or what they want to tell their audience is information, right? For example, let's say propaganda pervert number 314 is doing this. Well, that's what I'm looking for on Twitter, right? The original information I'm not getting from Twitter because I would never.
Okay.
But what the propagandist is saying, boy, howdy, do I find it on Twitter.
Yeah, I guess Twitter is a good source of newsworthy events.
Right. Or more like, I don't know, like I said, if you look at the Google Doc for the news show that we do, it's almost all links to Twitter, but those are links to people that have clipped out something that someone else said or did possibly on Twitter, right? It's abstracted out from what we would call news. It's almost like gossip about reporting, about misinformation, about news. by the time it comes out of my mouth, right? Like,
okay.
But this right here, this I don't think is a big deal, but like what happens, 3 days before the election, something like very convincing comes out. And then like, you'll have, digital forensic experts trying to look over it. You'll have people like me on the dystopia beat trying to figure out what's going on. There'll be group chats. I'll be added to like 5 new Discords trying to figure out what's going on. And I mean, that's interesting and it keeps me busy. But the problem is that with something like that is even if, a group of people, leave me out of it, a group of people figure out that it's fake or that it's 5 years old and heavily edited, if it's 3 days before the election, it's not going to matter. And what I think the one good thing about, one of the good things about mail-in ballots is 3 days before the election, a lot of people already mailed in their ballot.
Nope. What's that saying? I can't remember who said it, but the saying, misinformation spreads around the globe before the truth gets out of bed. I
thought it was before the truth ties its shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm Morgan Freeman, obviously. That's what, see those quote memes. It's always Morgan Freeman or Mark Twain, right?
Abraham Lincoln.
It's like one small step for man, one giant step for mankind. Morgan Freeman,
Yep.
Man, that was better when that was the only misinformation we had to deal with, was every profound or pseudo profound thing in the world being attributed to Morgan Freeman. It was a simpler time, HK. It was a simpler time.
Yeah. Don't believe everything you read on the internet. Abraham Lincoln.
Right. Sage advice.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. I think that we may be getting to the point where much of the voting populace is like sort of inoculated against this kind of crap.
I hope so,
because there's been so much coverage, and in some cases they do a good job, and in some cases they don't do a great job. But there's been so much coverage by what we'll consider mainstream or legacy media about misinformation and disinformation campaigns that I think people are aware, at least, that it's out there and that it might be something that their friend shares. You know what I'm saying? I think people used to think disinformation only came from Russia, and I blame a certain MSNBC host for that. But I think people now understand that maybe this stuff is, your friend shared it, maybe even your friend that you thought was, on your side, or that wasn't your friend who you think isn't like a conspiracy theorist or whatever. So I think people are just maybe a little more likely to side-eye something outrageous like a couple days before the election, just because of the things in the past. There's other people who are motivated maybe to believe the misinformation, but if by the time that you become motivated to believe misinformation, you're already pretty sure who you're voting for anyway. I think no matter if you're going to believe misinformation about either of the candidates, you're probably already pretty sure who you're going to vote for.
Yeah, I do feel like those people aren't the ones that I'm worried about. What I'm worried about is like the very low information voter who might see this and think that it's true and let it sway their opinion.
Yeah, it's. I think we're running into a thing where maybe what we call a low information voter might be less likely to see something like this too, though, because they're not scouring like Twitter.
I hope so.
It's a big mess, but I mean we're gonna have to deal with it. The problem here is that at least the other platforms pretend they're trying to help.
Do they?
They pretend, okay?
Okay.
I'm not saying they're helping. I'm saying they at least like will pay lip service to the fact that there is some misinformation that spreads on their platform, right? Whereas, this guy will go out in the weirdest possible way. It's the most truthful, the most truth on X. There's the most newsworthy news on X. Have you ever done DMT?
Yeah. The haven for free speech, right? Where he censors anyone who disagrees with him.
It's more like if you get his attention and piss him off enough. And I mean, that's fine, actually, because but if that's just what he said, he's like, oh, I'm, kind of for free speech, but I don't know, if you piss me off, I'm kicking you off my website. I'd be like, well, good to know.
It's like, then you're not for free speech.
Right. All right.
But sure.
But it'd be funny, right?
I mean, that's what he does, not what he says, but it is what he does. So
to some extent, there's journalists who report on him who he hasn't kicked off yet, but maybe he's just afraid of Kara Swisher and hasn't kicked her off yet. Maybe that's all. So what do you got next?
All right. My next story is related. Representative Barbara Lee states that Elon sharing a deep fake video of Kamala Harris shows the need for AI guardrails. She stated on a CNN interview that this event shows the need for guardrails on both social media and AI-generated content. As well, California Governor Gavin Newsom denounced Elon Musk's Twitter post, saying that, quote, manipulating a voice in an ad like this one should be illegal. And I got to say, I agree with him. What do you think, Dave?
So I don't know how. Okay, so illegal, it's too broad a term, right? Like, I feel like the platforms, how now I'm trying to find a good example. There's things that the platforms will generally take down that aren't illegal. Even Twitter X, like publishing someone's home address, right? It isn't illegal if you find that in a public place to go publish it. Locked up. You shouldn't publish anybody's home address because that's a call to action. You're not just giving information so somebody could send them a Christmas card, right?
Yeah, but that's that's where you get into the violent territory. This is just to me, it's kind of the same thing as defamation. You could say this person, person A has this infectious disease, that's defamation. If that's untrue, that's defamation. So, in the same way, creating a deep fake of someone's voice and having them say these disparaging remarks, that should also be considered defamation and absolutely should be illegal. Even having them say anything, if it's a deep fake of their voice, it should be labeled as such.
Right. So the person who initially made it, and I don't know how the video was labeled as parody, but it seems to me that it was clearly labeled as parody.
Yes, the post that the video was attached to called it parody.
Right. And it might have even been a fan of hers who thought it was funny to do this, right? It might have been somebody who...
I don't think so.
But you could see where if somebody was a fan of a politician, it would be funny to deep fake them saying a bunch of bad stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, yeah.
You could see, it would be maybe misguided or whatever in the current climate, but you could see where that's the case. And that's not the... So, but then the question, and I'm not a lawyer, and I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but then the question is who is doing the defamation? Is it the person who shares it and just removes the claim that it's parody?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Because if you retweet it, the claim that it's parody is still there. To reshare it, you have to actually download it. Mm-hmm. Now you're the one uploading the content. But then, in what way is it illegal? Because if it's defamation, defamation, your remedy is through the courts and your remedy is civil after the fact. And that doesn't help too terribly much in an election. And I would suggest to you that anyone advising a candidate for office to go around suing people for defamation is guilty of malpractice as they advise the candidate, because it seems, even if it's true, it seems petty and it seems like a waste of time. And I think that
I would think for just any standard civilian, maybe the law should be defamation. You know, if for example, if I were to share a video of you that I deep faked you saying a bunch of disparaging remarks about yourself, that would be akin to defamation, and you should have the right to sue me. But if you are running for office and I'm trying to, I'm spreading false information through a deep fake that is meant to cause you to lose your bid for office, then that, I think, should be criminal.
Well, I would think if you owned a large platform and did that, maybe it would be criminal. But if you were just an individual, I don't want to be throwing people in jail for that. But yeah, if you are an influential person or whatever, but then you get into, and again, we're not lawyers. There's a law like this will never pass. I think it could. It will. I think it never will. But I am cynical. I don't think, and I don't think it will. I don't think it will ever pass. And it should be illegal. Well, sure, I guess. But then, is it the platform's fault? Is it individual? If the individual doesn't know it's fake, then they get caught up in something for just being stupid. And last time I checked, being stupid isn't illegal. So it depends on what you do out of stupidity. Right. Obviously, if you out of stupidity, yeah, I understand. Stupidity is not a defense against a criminal charge. No. You might plead stupidity at sentencing and hope that the judge is like, well, this person's too stupid for prison. But I think that it would be very, very difficult to get something passed around this that is specific enough that it could be applicable. Because if it's too broad, it's just going to get abused by whoever's in power. I don't think so. If it was if you made it like a cartoon or something, then that's obviously not a deep fake. So then no one would have a legal argument that, you were using a deep fake. A deep fake is clearly meant to look realistic. So I think that would be where you draw the line. So the framework for defamation is already exists, and that's what this seems to fall under. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm really not confident that anything like this would ever get through both houses of Congress and pass muster, especially in the Supreme Court. But I also just I'm not sure I want the government to have the power to decide that something like this is criminal. I just think about what happens. Somebody we don't trust starts trying to use this. It would just be the cause. People would use this, I think, a lot to try to what a slap suit is. People would be using this as basically as a way to do a slap suit without having to deal with anti-slap regulations. Well, I think it would be, if it was criminal, it would be the state prosecuting it, right? Well, then all 50 states would have to pass a law against it. Well, yeah, either the state or the executive branch of the federal government. Yeah, but I don't want to spend any more time on this because neither of us are law experts, nor are we experts on the Congress. I don't know that I want the government having more power over what people can and can't say and how they can and can't. I think we are entering a dangerous territory with the power of deepfakes, though. So I don't know. I hope that if there is a law that's passed regarding this, I hope that it's well considered and well worded. I don't know. I just hope that I hope that people generally just talk to their friends. They're like, hey, I saw this thing on the internet. What do you think? I hope that people talk more about this, and I hope that people, just kind of punch in the words they heard in something. If they're like, I don't know, this doesn't sound like something. Why would they say this? Then just punch in the words into a search engine, and you go, oh, they didn't. Okay, cool. I mean, in an ideal world, yeah. People also now just think fact checkers exist to censor other people. So that's fun, too. Thanks for listening to How the Tech Are You? This show goes out as a couple of YouTube segments and eventually goes out as a podcast. I just got around to it on Sunday this week because I kind of forgot about it. If you want to check out our other stuff, go to echoplexmedia.com. And you can find everything there. So you're going to get videos or recommendations or something where I'm pointing. Have a great tech week.